So welcome back to another episode, and today I'm going to talk about dream sequels. Sequels to games that I would love to see. Games that I truly adored at one time in my life, and I was like, man, I would love another game in that series. And some of these are pipe dreams, let me tell you. Some of them, we haven't got a sequel for nearly 20 years, and it's kind of ridiculous. And guys, down below, tell me of games that you played that you would love to see a sequel for that you don't think is going to happen, maybe. Maybe one day it might, you know what I mean? Because sometimes we've been very, very surprised, so. Now, the first game I'm going to talk about was a bit of a surprise for me back on the Game Boy Advance. It was one of the launch titles, and I had bought it off a friend of mine. And I started playing it, and I was like, oh my god, this is like one of my favorite old TurboGrafx games, Military Madness, being that it's a strategy game. And it was so cool using tanks and fighters and troopers. I just fell in love with it, and it was very, very addicting. And I bought all of the rest of the games. I boarded the first one up a friend of mine, but then I got, Advance Wars 2, Advance Wars Dual Strike, Days of Ruin, and I really like them all. Like, Days of Ruin was phenomenal, but this is a game, and it's got ported to the home console, the virtual console in Japan, but we have never gotten a sequel. Isn't that so strange? On the 3DS, we've never gotten any more of them, and I'm like, I guess it's not a huge seller. I guess the series maybe went down like this in sales. I hope that's not the case. I also would really like I was hoping for a Wii U version of it, with the touchpad. I thought that would be an incredible use of the touchpad. I was just hoping for any sequel to Advance Wars, one of my favorite games on the Game Boy Advance and then onto the DS, and maybe one day we'll get a sequel. Now I gotta go way back here to the Genesis, and one of my favorite games is Revenge of Shinobi, but one of my other favorite games and one of the launch titles that I played religiously at a friend's place was Ghouls and Ghosts, a sequel to Ghost and Goblins. And this game, I played the living crap out of it. I can still just start playing this game and do extremely well. Go through probably all the way to the end of the game. I played it that much when I was a kid, and we did get a sequel. We got Ultimate Ghouls and Ghosts on the PSP, and this is really nice. This is really great. But we also have to rewind for a second and look at the Super Nintendo game Super Ghouls and Ghosts, a game I played religiously when I got out of high school. But that was it. And I have a very, very sad feeling that may be it for the Ghouls and Ghosts series. I think maybe Capcom was just like, yeah, this isn't going to make us any money. And I remember there was an online game way back in the day that was in production, and that disappeared. And we have the Maximo series, I understand that, but I would really like a true sequel to Ghouls and Ghosts. I love the environments, I love the setting, the atmosphere. It's just unbelievable. Now, by Mistwalker, a phenomenal game came out that not a phenomenal amount of people played, and that was Lost Odyssey. 4 discs, an incredible RPG that just was like huge in scope and rich in story and very powerful in the emotional factor. This game, I always hate to admit this kind of thing, but I got choked up playing this game. Right in the beginning, there's just a moment in the game where it's like, oh my god, and I thought it was me. I went to work and my supervisor was playing this, and I'm like, oh my god, I said, I feel so embarrassed. I said, I choked up with this one part of the game. He's like, dude, so did I. And so I didn't feel so bad after that, But Lost Odyssey is an incredible game. I wish it got a port to another system. I think Microsoft owns its exclusive rights to this, but this was really great. The load times are a little long, but you can't hold that against this game. This game is, I guess if you want to compare, it is the Final Fantasy for the 360, and if you can go and find this game cheap, please do, but it's never gonna happen. Lost Odyssey 2, I can dream. When I was a younger guy, I think around 21 years old, this small game came out, Chrono Trigger, and I had a great summer playing this. It just, oh wow, it was everything that I was hoping it would be. There was a huge amount of build up to this game. I bought it for $99 Canadian at the time, and I sure got my money's worth out of it. I love the Akira Toriyama designs. I love the battle system. I love the time traveling. I love Larvos. I loved everything about it. And then we got a sequel. Wait, it's called Chrono Cross. not Chrono Trigger 2. This created a lot of confusion for a lot of people, and a lot of people didn't like Chrono Cross, but I absolutely did. I thought it had a lot to offer. I thought it was, the environments are really cool, the music is phenomenal, really, really nice stuff, but wow, wouldn't it be nice just to get a Chrono Trigger 2 with Akira Toriyama designs again? I've talked about this on the Lords of Thunder podcast. This would print money, a second one to this game. It would print money. We would all be crying like fanboys going, oh my god, Chrono Trigger 2, that would be phenomenal, that'd be unbelievable, we want this game. But it's a pipe dream, and it's really strange with Square Enix these days. They're really heavily focusing on Final Fantasy, which is great, but God, there's some games in your backlog, in your library, that if you did anything with them, anything, even a 3DS version of Chrono Trigger 2 would make the masses extremely happy. It would sell extremely well. Oh, here we go, into some old classics here. I first experienced this, obviously, on the Sega CD, and that was Lunar, the Silver Star Story. And then I played the second one, and then I wanted to play the third one, a game that never came out, a game that has been rumored. If the fans want it, we'll make it. That's what they've been saying for way too many years. And I think Lunar 3 is just not going to happen, but I just love the character designs. I loved everything about Lunar. The happy environments. It's very much obviously like Grandia, by the same, by Game Arts. It's just a happy, fun RPG that you can play with a group of kids that go on this amazing adventure. Loved it. Sequel? We're never gonna get it. I'm ever at at E3 or watching E3 and they announce Lunar 3, I couldn't even imagine what my reaction would be. That would be unreal. Speaking of reactions, could you imagine my reaction if they created a sequel to Phantasy Star 4, Phantasy Star 5? Here's an idea. I know game development is quite expensive, obviously. Just do a nice Phantasy Star 5 on a handheld system. Save the money. Just do a smaller game. It's been nearly 20 years since a real sequel, Phantasy Star 5. Now, don't get me wrong, Phantasy Star 4 ends this series perfectly. It is kind of one of those things that sometimes don't wish for something else, or it could be worse. Like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. We always wanted another Indiana Jones, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have asked for that. But being greedy today, because it's, I'm thinking about dream sequels, Phantasy Star 5 would be my most beloved dream sequel. And speaking of that, wow, wouldn't it be amazing if they made a sequel to Shenmue 2? Wouldn't that, what the fuck, it happened? I had to do that. I'm so happy. So I can want a lot of sequels for games, but we're getting a lot of great stuff. We're getting another Ys game. We're still getting Dragon Quest games. We're getting a sequel to goddamn Shenmue 2 after all these years. I gotta bring that one up. And God, could you imagine if Sega's like, we have a big announcement. Dynamite Ducks 2 in 3D virtual reality. I think I'd be taking a plane trip over to Sega Japan with a couple of rubber bats at that point. But guys, what are some of your dream sequels? Games that you played that you're like, this game is so awesome. Where the fuck is the sequel? I am not satisfied. I demand more. So guys, leave it below. So anyways, guys, until next time.